Hey family, it's Tasha, MAMABEAR Prepping. So you already know what time it is. Get your drink. Thank you for visiting the channel. Thank you for coming back or visiting us for the first time. Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to keep it a little just easy going, right? You know, I started to feel my anxiety rise a little bit with trying to figure out what to talk about today. I definitely wanted to go left with a bunch of stuff and just go hardcore, and then something just, you know, a calmness came about me, like, just relax. So today I am doing that, and I am doing what I'm told. Okay, so I want to do something a little different, a little fun. I'm just going to go over 10 items, 10 of my favorite grid down items. These are just things that I absolutely love. I absolutely will use in grid down. And I just really, really appreciate what they do and the value and quality that the value that they'll bring to our quality of life when maybe we're going through some things, right? So let's just get into it. So, these aren't in any kind of special order, you guys. I just started writing them out. Okay. So the number one I put equal flow generators. You know, we have equal flow generators. To be honest, I think we just did a little research back in the day, ended up getting them. Once we got one, we got it here. We started using it. It worked for what we wanted it to work for. We just really enjoyed it. We always buy them as packages, right? So we always buy a generator plus some solar panels because they can all be tethered and it's all interchangeable because we're staying with the same company. And then we just, you know, then we got a bigger one, a nicer one. Really love that one. I mean, that's my baby. I had a subscriber the other day say she broke down and spent the money on the Delta, right? On the EcoFlow Delta, which is a little bit more expensive, especially, I don't know if she got it with the kit with, you know, with the solar panels, you know, included with it, or she bought that separately. But yeah, you're looking at $1,800, $1,900, $2,000, give or take, depending on if you hit a sale or not. And then give or take if you get, you know, what do you get with your package? But I'm telling you, hands down, one of my favorite preps, worth every single penny. That's my workhorse. That's my backbone of my power preps. Okay, when we talk about running power, that's my backbone. That's what runs my freezers, my chest freezers, and my fridge combo, my fridge freezer combo. Okay, so huge fan of that. And then of course we have all the smaller ones. The River Maxes is what I have. And so we have those CPAP and food, right? And looking to get more. They have way bigger ones for than that. But my thing with generators is, you know, you guys do your research. There's a lot of good companies out there. Even the smallest, you know, wattage type, you know, solar bank is going to be beneficial to you. Okay, if anything, just running some lights, some string lights in your house, charging your phones or your tablet to get information, maybe charging a little radio. I mean, those simple things are gonna be beneficial. Okay, and then you go from there on what you want to do. Okay. But those solar generators are one of my favorite preps. Okay. Next thing I have is my solar motion sensor lights. We have solar motion sensor lights all around the property, right? So anywhere it's real dark, we pop one of those up. And I love those because even grid down, those will work, right? They run off of solar. They do have some battery packs in them that are just rechargeable batteries, or basic rechargeable batteries. But they're solar, and I just love them. They're super bright. They're far away as far as the length that you can set them. I mean, you can set them different feet away that you want it to go off. But they're great lights, and they're lights that will continue to work even during grid down. The whole neighborhood is dark, but people that have motion sensors that are connected to solar, those will pop on when they need to pop on. And they'll pop on in a sense that people will know, oh, that's solar. They don't have power. That's a solar light, because it clearly comes on and then it clearly goes off, and you can clearly see the little solar, you know, pad that comes with it. So it's obvious, you know, I don't have power. It's obvious that I have solar lighting. Okay. But hands down, one of my favorite things, right? Again, we want to do things that will deter criminals, and maybe a light popping on when the whole neighborhood is dark. Why would they mess with my house when they can go to the next house that is totally dark and has way more concealment for them to do what they want to do? Okay. Next thing I have, one of my favorites, and people will argue this is a little too much, too messy, too much fuel, whatever, is my oil lanterns. Absolutely love them. Dietz is my favorite. And I just love them. You guys, I just love them. They're super easy. You're going to want to make sure some things that if you get oil lanterns, you want to make sure that you get replacement pieces, right? So the wick, got to make sure you get more wick, lots of the oil, lamp oil. But I just think that they're simple. Some people will say, okay, safety wise, if they get tipped over, you know, that type of thing. We've never had one tip over. You know, we got kids in the house. I have them staged all over the house, first of all, okay? And I just like them. These are not something that I pull out during just regular grid down, right? I don't pull this out for, you know, it's a couple hours or even a day or two. I'm not pulling these out. I'm using my, my battery ran, solar ran type lanterns, okay? My USB plug-in lanterns, all the different types of lanterns we have, we're using those, okay? We're not touching these. But if we go into long-term where we're having to provide light long-term, or maybe, hey, we get to the point where the batteries are gone or whatever, this is how we would light our home on a regular basis, okay? Number 4 favorite grid down prep I have is my Berkey water filter. Absolutely love it. I still have not built my, I wanted to build 2 more Berkey, homemade Berkey. I shouldn't even say Berkey, but homemade large water filtering systems. Have not done that, but I needed to get, I've said forever that I was going to do the homemade ones, but my Berkey that I have, absolutely love it. Again, cost us $700-800. Phenomenal purchase. Love it. Worth every single penny. And we got the large one, we got the crown one, so it holds a lot of water. It's one of my favorites. It's a huge peace of mind. I've got to get the homemade ones built, right? Because we have to have them built for different scenarios, right? Fallout water, filtering, different things that we might need to filter water in a way before it goes into some sort of Berkey, right? Or making your own homemade watering systems where you have several homemade Berkeys that you can use for filtering more dangerous water that you come across. But I absolutely love it. Okay. And it's worth every penny. And, it's interesting because it's definitely a, conversation starter, right? People are always like, what is that? You know, they have no idea what it is. No clue, right? And when you say, oh, it's just a water filter, it's just a large water filter. And I can see their wheels clicking, right? And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like a big coffee pot. And, you know, somebody came in, I think one of the kids, maybe one of my nephew, when he first saw it, was like, is that a coffee pot? Like, thought it was coffee for coffee. I was just like, Lord, that's a lot of coffee. But yeah, one of my favorites, hands down. Would buy it again, okay? If I had more money, I would probably buy more of those. And what I will say is, I really like their filtering system, so I probably will get Berkey filters to go in my homemade watering filters. A lot of people say, you know, well, what filters you get? Really, you can get any kind of filters, good quality filters, but I will probably purchase Berkey filters for those homemade ones. That's how much I like the company. All right, number 6, butane propane stove, right? Just my little combo stove, camp stove. I like a lot of camp stoves, but I do like my little square one that I have. It's super easy to use. It takes propane and butane, so that gives you some options and makes your fuel last even longer if you have some different types of fuels, knowing that both of them can be used. And they're fairly cheap. Even I think I looked the other day, like $30-40 still. You used to be able to get them for like $25. So if you just look around on Amazon, you might be able to still find them at that price. But super, super easy. And for grid down, you just pop that bad boy out, and that's it. Indoors, outdoors, indoors, if you're using it, you got to have your ventilation, right? Be cooking next to a window, or have a screen door open or something like that, right? But just a great, easy thing to have. I don't know why you wouldn't have, especially with the price point. If you don't have that as part of your preps, I would get that. Even if you have a different way to cook, it's an easy option to buy and just have, okay? And it gives you a whole other option for again, a really good price point, right? My number 6 favorite, and we don't even have ours up yet, is our CCTVs. So much to do, you guys. This house just really put us behind on doing the things that we needed to do and wanted to do. But CCTVs, absolute favorite, ran off of a generator. You have your cameras, and then you have your console, and then you have a small basic TV, all of which can be ran off of a solar generator. And it gives you the opportunity to be able to have eyes outdoors and to still see things and to see what's going on outside. I like them because the price point, again, is you get more for the price point. Yes, you still could be spending a couple $100s, but from that price point, you're getting possibly 5 to 8 cameras, whereas an actual security system, you're maybe getting 2 cameras for that price. If that, 200 is kind of low, right? Maybe if you get a sale, right? But it's very expensive for actual security cameras. And then, if you don't need the 8 cameras or 5 cameras, you put up what you need, and then you have those other cameras as backups, right? Something happens, weather happens, a line gets cut, a camera gets damaged from a tree or debris from a storm, whatever, you have some backups, okay? And I just like it. It's low level tech, right? Not connected to the internet and like the Wi-Fi, and now you can't, your security system doesn't work anymore during grid down because, you're connected to the Wi-Fi and the internet, and everything's screwy right now because of there's no power. Okay. So gives you another way of being able to see, okay, and have some sort of security. Number 7 favorite is my auto watering system. So I have auto watering systems outdoors. They're waterproof little modules that clip on to containers or wood pots, whatever. You connect them to a 5-gallon bucket or any kind of watering holder, right? Mine are 5-gallon buckets with the lids on them, have a hole in it where the tube goes in. It pulls the water from there and waters whatever plants you have taken your setup, right, off your lines, right? And you set, how often a day it waters and for how long it waters. And, you can obviously change that up depending on what time of year it is, how hot it is, how cold it is, all of that good stuff. I absolutely love them. I've had 2 different kinds. I had a kind in in California. That was decent. It did the trick. It did the job. But they were battery ran, meaning actual batteries, right? Not rechargeable, like actual batteries that you had to put in. And so I was having to remember, and it was costing, that's a cost that's going to not be there maybe one day, right? Or if I run out, now I can't use them. And these latest ones I bought, same idea, everything the same, but they are USB, right? And so I just bring them in once a week. They last a little bit longer than that, but I just bring them in once a week, charge them up on the USB. Again, something super easy to still be able to maintain and charge with my solar generator stuff. So super easy to maintain and keep going. And then I like this idea because 1, it's on a schedule, grid goes down and you're not having to scramble. A lot of times water is going to be an issue when grid goes down anyway. You're going to not be wanting to use your drinkable water to feed your plants. And so what I like is, especially for short-term grid downs, even a week and a half is about how long that right now that bucket lasts. Now, when it gets super hot, It's probably going to cut it down to about every 4 or 5 days. But we'll just see. We'll see how it goes, right? But I think it's just super important to have that kind of set up, have a game plan for your plants, for your garden, that thinks through grid down, right? Because if you keep those buckets full, grid down happens, it's definitely going to take you through a couple days at least. You have water in there. You're not having to worry about that, okay? It's do you have to worry grid down long term? Yes, because now remember, you have to be able to refill those buckets. But again, if you're doing different things, you have different options available to you, water catchment, whatever. There's a lot of different things that you can do, okay? But part of my favorite right now for grid down, okay? Number 8 thing I have is my cast iron pot. So the actual pot. I absolutely love that for grid down because one, it's so versatile. I love it because it's one pot meal, super easy. You can make a soup, stews, bread. It's a one deal thing. I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's like a must. It's like my go-to cooking item, if you will, when it comes to when I get to the point where I'm cooking. Again, first, when grid down first happens, I'm not cooking, you guys. We're not cooking. I'm not cooking at all. I'm worrying about other stuff, getting other stuff set up and organized, and I'm not paying attention to cooking meals. That can come later when something has lasted a little bit longer, okay? And my pot is one of my favorite items to use, okay? Number 9 thing I have is my hot water thermoses. Now, I got this tip a while ago, you guys. This was probably a tip I got within the last 4 months. I got it since we came back to Washington. Somebody was saying in the comments just different things that they get for grid down, or I can't even remember what video it was from, you guys, but somebody had put a tip about thermoses and having thermoses and how they fill them up with warm water at night, and then they have those thermoses the next day, or if they know a storm is coming, they'll fill up all the thermoses with hot water, right? Boiling water, close them up, and then the storm happens, whatever. But they've got that hot water in the morning, right? And you could continue to do that. You know, you boil a pot of water, you know, to start the day, fill up your thermoses. I'm talking about like more of a long-term grid down. Heat up your water, fill up your thermoses, and then you have hot water throughout the day, and you're not having to waste resources, having a fire go all day long to heat up, or using your little propane, you know, stove several times a day, every time you need a little bit of water for something, right? You've got that hot water in the thermoses. So think about, you know, the kids want some oatmeal real quick. You want to make some tea or some instant coffee, something real quick that you don't want a whole pot. You're just looking for a cup of something, right? What else? Teas, oatmeals, coffees, noodles, right? Like ramen noodles. Super easy to break those up in a little bowl and just pour some hot water over them and cover them. And then they'll cook, you guys. It doesn't take too much, right? But the thermos game, God bless you for whoever that was many, many months ago that put me on game. But that is my favorite. So if you could do this on a regular basis, that's a lot of work to do it every single night. But anytime that I think something could happen, I get a warning about something, you know, solar flares coming through, even something as simple as that. A regular storm is coming through. We're about to have high winds. You know, the chance of having grid down in any capacity that we're being warned about, then that is a night that I would boil water, fill the thermoses, have them out on the counter, ready to go for the next day. And it's not wasted. You know, if nothing happens, then nothing happens. You know, you can use that to make your coffee in the morning or make some tea, okay? Or make some breakfast, some oatmeal. You know, you doing these steps is what, again, helps quality of life when crazy things happen, because people are going to be panicking over the littlest thing, right? Power goes out and they're going to just freak. They're not going to freak at first, but there's a lot of people after 24 hours of no power just really don't know what to do. Like long term, they're just like, I can't handle this. I have nothing to do. I'm bored. I don't have, you know, I'm struggling to cook. We're trying to light off, you know, the barbecue every day. It's annoying. Like it's going to be a lot. Okay. And there's going to be things, you know, that because they didn't prepare for, they're going to react to it in a different way that possibly you can do, right? That stress of knowing in the home you have the things you need. You just need to clear your mind and calmly figure out what you're going to utilize, what you're going to pull out, that you have this, yada, yada, yada. And then you're fine. It's peace of mind knowing you have it and your family is taken care of, right? And then the last thing I have, this is kind of an odd one, you guys, for grid down, but I am thinking more long-term grid down, and that's my books. I think one of my favorite preps is my books because I have medicinal books, medical books. I have preparedness books. I have bushcraft books. I have hunting books, trapping books, plant books about different plants and foraging and how to identify plants, how to identify animals, dictionaries of words, history book. Just all of this stuff is super, super important to get knowledge. Knowledge is super important. And so to know that, okay, maybe there's no internet anymore and I have the ability to still have something that I can pull out and read and learn about and teach myself something, right? Basic mechanical stuff, something has to be fixed. A basic manual of how to do stuff, how to do projects, building, those things matter, okay? Children's books, fictional books for you guys to read to keep your mind, you know, sane as far as just having a little bit of an outlet, right, from what's going on. Children's, you know, school books, school manuals, okay, things like that, having that stuff, that matters because again, you can keep things going to some kind of normalcy in your life. And this is more of a long-term thing, right? If the power goes out, I'm not like, oh, my books, I'm glad I have my books, right? But imagine even 2 weeks of this country in a situation where there was no internet. And you could no longer just go to Google and ask a question. What is this? How do I do this? Blah, 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 blah. All the 1,000 things that we ask Google a day, right? Imagine you could slow down and think, okay, instead of panicking that I can't just look this up, I have some books that I could reference and I could go to the glossary and I could really look and see, do I have a book that has some information on this, right? And knowing that you could spend your time now getting the right books, the right type of things that you think would save the day later by being able to go to them to get basic information, okay? So it's just super important and I really appreciate them, and that's why books have made one of my favorite grid down items that I own. You know, there's a lot of cool bushcrafting stuff that could have made the list, right? People are like, well, my knife and my you know, my ferro rod and my this and my that. Yeah, I get it. There's a lot of cool stuff grid down, stuff that we would use, right? If I'm lighting a fire, first of all, if I'm lighting a fire, you guys, I'm not out there with my ferro rod if I don't need to be out there with my ferro rod, right? I'm out there with a lighter, right? Or some matches, you know, but you need to know how to use the ferro rod. But when you talk about favorites and the stuff that I think we, use the most during grid down, and or will use the most during grid down, a prolonged grid down, the things that will matter to me. What will matter to me is the safety, right? Safety of my family. And if you've noticed, a lot of these things have to do directly with fortification and safety, right? And the other stuff, you know, is just survival basics, right? Having a way to filter a large amount of water, being able to power some basic things in your home. At the end of the day, you need to have the skills so that if you had none of this stuff, you would be able to still make it. That's the kicker, is these things are nice. These are lovely things to have. However, do you have the skills that if you had none of this stuff, you would still be able to prosper and make it in life? Can you make it with no power forever, right? Or would you literally go crazy and jump off a bridge? There's people that are going to go crazy and jump off a bridge. They're not going to be able to handle it, okay? So can you deal with, you know, no power, right? Going back to, you know, horse and carriage and lanterns and fire pits and cooking over a fire, and like, could you do that stuff? Can you light a fire? Can you build a shelter? These are really, really important things. Can you grow food? You know, can you catch food? Can you hunt food? Can you skin an animal? Those things matter, because if you don't have this stuff, you still have to be able to be safe. Can you procure water, make it safe to drink? That is huge, okay? Huge. So having those skills, they do matter. They absolutely do matter, you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's a little lighthearted, not so much gloom and doom, like this is going to happen, all this craziness. It's just a fun little list of some of my favorite grid down items. Some of this stuff is in my store. So if you go to my Amazon influencer page, do not feel like you have to order stuff through that page, but it's a good page to go to get ideas of other preps to get, other things to get. And it does have a lot of these items that I talked about today in there, because they're my favorites, okay? So I hope you guys have a blessed day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Be productive. Do great things. Blessings from my bear cave to yours. Bye.